evening to and welcome to the program. This is Ubuntu channel. My name is Chaza, and I do welcome you to meet your leaders. And tonight I will be joined by Mr. Nyirenda, and we will actually be looking at the topic: young people do not have qualities for political leadership. And to do this program, I do have my co-host by the name Lance Sunny Banda. Lance, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening. Thank you, Chaza. Good evening to our viewers as well as good evening to our guests. Looking forward to a very fruitful deliberation on this program.
Good evening, Mr. Nyirenda.
Good evening, Comrade Chaza. Good evening, Comrade Lance. And it's really a pleasure for me to sit before you and speak to this very important and noble topic. I hope we'll give it the justice and the due diligence that it deserves.
We are actually delighted and profoundly humbled to have you on the program. You are the executive director of Operation Young Vote. Do tell us more about yourself.
Well, thank you very much. My name, as already introduced, I am Guess, and the spelling is Guess. I'm Guess Nyirenda. Um, I'm executive director of Operation Young Vote. I have been in the game with regards to civil society and NGOs since the 90s, and I'm a very proud expert in that area. I have dealt with matters to do with young people and the electoral process in this country and beyond for a very long time. I sat on the Electoral Reform Technical Committee that was then appointed by late President Mr. Levi Patrick Manawasa, or Doctor. May his soul rest in peace. I was the principal researcher of that particular committee, and of course it had the likes of members like Honorable Patrick Matibini, State Council, the former Speaker of the National Assembly. It had the likes of President Edgar Lungu, the former head of state of Zambia, and many other, great names that you can think about in the country were part of that Electoral Reform Technical Committee. It ran between 2002 to 2006, and I proudly am one of those that really gave serious input to the Electoral Act of that time. But also going back, I was one of the researchers, prominent researchers around the review and reform of the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia in 1996, of course, which then culminated into what was the infamous third term bid. And unfortunately, it was tailored that way by the president at that time, President FTJ Chiluba, against the wishes of the Zambian people. I have done a number of things regarding youth participation. I was a member of the National Youth Development Council at some point in between 2009 and 2011. I sit on the National Governing Council of the African Peer Review Mechanism, and I'm the spokesperson representing Zambia at continental level. And I sit on the National Conflict Management Committee of the ECZ. I'm a family man, of course. I'm a father of twins, married to a very beautiful woman. I'm a proud father, a proud husband. I'm a very strong Christian. I do. I'm actually in my parish currently. I'm the chairperson of the Catechetical Committee, the committee that builds or helps people into becoming stronger, believers and Christians in the Catholic faith. Uh, I, I have a lot that I can say, but I think for now, those are things that really make this person you know as guest Nyirenda. I've been part of Operation Young Vote since inception. Operation Young Vote was born in the year 2000. And since that time, I have been part of the organization. I'm one of the founders, the ones that built Operation Young Vote from the scratch in the communities, in the churches. We slept on the floor just to ensure that young people began to seriously participate and engage in matters of national importance. I think from that end or that angle, you cannot take away those things from me with regards to what I have done. I have really, in terms of engaging and also, building the things to do with youth participation, like the National Youth policy, the implementation plans, all those things. I have sat at a technical level. I've sat at almost all levels, leadership level, strategic level, for the country to build those things. I have helped other countries build their youth wings and programs with regards to youth development at national level. So I I am a humble guru in that area, if you like.
That's so fortifying, and indeed, you do have a rich background in this area, a great CV, I may say. Now, coming to the topic tonight, young people do not have, qualifications for political leadership. What is the veracity of this statement? To what extent do you agree or do not agree with this statement?
Well, before I get to that point, to answer that statement or to whether I agree with it to what extent, let me just add to what I was just giving about myself. I also worked at a very, critical level and position and institution with regards to the elections in the country. I did work with the European Union Election Observation Mission as an assistant election analyst in 2016, but also even in 2021. I also did work as a programs coordinator and manager when there was a revision or evaluation of what the EU observation mission has done to Zambia. So with regards to matters with of the electoral process, issues of governance, I've sat on a number of constitutional review commissions, and I think I really stand out as one of those that has contributed immensely to this, great country. Regarding the question of whether young people have the qualification, or indeed that young people are qualified or are not qualified in the negative to engage in the political dispensation of this country, I want to strongly disagree with that statement. The young people of this country, fortunately, have the capacity, have the know-how, have the education, have the qualifications that are required for them to efficaciously participate in matters of leadership, whether it's at political level or at whatever level. So it is actually, for me, folly for any one of us to insinuate that the young people of this great country have no qualification. However, there are certain factors that we will need to discuss as the program unfolds, of why and how they are not there, even when they have the qualifications required to engage and participate with regards to ensuring that the Zambian democratic dispensation or political landscape is occupied by themselves.
Having said so, what then is the problem? Because I've heard you've talked about, spearheading, the initiation and also the implementation of the national youth policy. Policies are seemingly in place, but then practically these things have not come into fruition. What is the problem?
Comrade Chaza, that is a very critical question, and we really need to go step by step and slowly to unpack what factors inhibit the engagement and participation of young people, uh, whether it's in the electoral process or in the political space. Number one, I want to emphasize from the onset that the unfortunate, modus operandi that the old guards, for lack of a better term, the old folks have, put forth in the political space, is that you need to have monies for you to engage or participate in our politics and political dispensation in this country, which is very, very unfortunate. Now, we cannot have, or we cannot place resources and money as a benchmark on how good one or how bad one is, depending on which side of the equation they fall. If they don't have money, then they are not a good leader. They are not qualified. If they have money, even when they are nothing, as long as they have money, then they are leaders. We have seen this, and this is one thing that has really put a very bad dent on our political leadership. As it were, we see that there are those that have amassed wealth. It could be, dubiously, corruptly. Some of them is actually in the right way, doing good business that they can be able to account. But unfortunately, it does not mean that when you have money, then you are a leader automatically. And that is a problem that we have in this our country. Our old folks have, they have lived long, of course, beyond what the young ones have gone. Uh, but you see that, and they have made money, of course, through means I spoke about. Some of them corruptly, dubiously, others genuinely. But then they have put money as something that the Zambians and everyone else should be able to look at as one of the factors that would determine whether you are a leader or not a leader, which is quite unfortunate. And you know that young people are just getting out of school. They have not worked for any institution, or they have not worked for government, or probably if they have worked, they've only worked for a few years, and their small salaries cannot come and help them to do the campaigns. You've seen that our campaigns have been commercialized. All that you see, I mean, you'll bear me witness that when it is time to campaign, you have to dish out money. You have to buy materials, t-shirts, tenges, and all those things. And here is a young person who has worked for only 3 or 4 years, and they're a good leader, probably from a higher institution of learning. It could be from the University of Zambia, Copperbelt University, any other university in the country, or even outside the country. But then they come and they want to participate. They have that hindrance of resources, and they are just ruled offside, that they cannot engage. Even just at primary political party level, when people are vying for these adoptions, you will see that there's demand that these young people, give monies and resources for them to be accepted and to be given a chance to participate, which is very unfortunate. We tend to leave out leaders that can help this country, or political parties, as it were, to move forward and develop, establish into very progressive institutions. And because we want people that have money, we end up getting people that cannot take the political parties and institutions of such nature forward. That is one issue, the commercialization of our political dispensation and space. The second one is, the fact that we have laws and policies that are not quite affirmative with regards to youth participation. I will tell you that for a very long time, since the colonial era, young people have been relegated for a very long time to stone throwers and noisemakers. Okay, I'll give you a very practical example. Go to each political party of whether it's 40 political parties that are active, registered and active in Zambia. Go to them and just find out, where are the youth placed. You will find that the youth are relegated to youth wings, and these youth wings, unfortunately, they are more or less the security wing for the political party. And I mean, how do you relegate university graduates? How do you relegate young people that can put up better strategies to help a political party grow, and just relegate them to being the security of a political party, and not to participate in any constructive engagement and level of where you have a level of where there's debate, and young people can give what they know best, how they can help the political party or such institutions grow or get concretely established. How do you just relegate them to a youth wing? This is unfortunately what is obtaining in this country. Go to the United Party for National Development, the party that is in power today. Go to the party that just left power last year, the Patriotic Front. Go to Patriots for Economic Development. Go to FDD. Just go to any political party. You will realize that the young people are relegated to just being in those wings, where the only job that they know best is to mobilize young people, their fellow young people, to go and vote, or to go and fight, either stone throwing and just violence, and such things, and not anything productive and progressive. They will not be brought to the main body of a political party. And for us, that is where the issues are. If you really care about young people, and if you really want young people to engage effectively and participate, so that tomorrow they take over in a more organized and effective way, bring them to the main body of a political. Why is the main body of a political party just left to the old men alone? Even the women are not there. If you find a woman there, it's probably one that is coming from the women's wing as a chair lady for the women. That's all. And the rest of the positions in that main body of a political party are odd men. That's unfortunate. And then you expect that your political party will at some point be able to hand over power to these young ones whom you have relegated to, the peripherals and not to being part of you, so that they learn the ropes, the nitty gritties of how to run politics. It's very difficult when their time to take over comes for them to be effective, because then they will not have learned anything. And this is unfortunately what is happening. So that is around the policies at political party level. And I'm yet to see. I know that SP is trying in a way, the Socialist Party, except also, when you talk about the main body, you don't find any young people. You find very few young people. Yes, I know that they had one of the very vibrant spokespersons, that young lady, the name has slipped off my mind. She was quite young, and very young for that matter, and very brilliant. Now, if you have such young people and really nurture them, really orient them, then you expect that at some point you will have a better crop of politicians in the country. But where you relegate them to just stone throwing and mobilization, then even when they grow, when they need to take over, they will continue with what was indoctrinated in them as being stone throwers and just violent cadres, as it were. So for us, that is one of the challenges. But also, if when it comes to the legal framework and just national policies. I was specifically talking about political party policies in the second one. But in the third one, I'm coming to the national policies and laws. If you look at the Constitution provides an opportunity to the head of state when they are appointing, appointees. They must take into account the engagement and participation of the young people, the women, and the persons living with disabilities. But unfortunately, this has not really been taken so seriously. If you go back to the past regime, there were very few youth, very few. You can just count them on your fingers, unfortunately. And as a leader, you sit and feel proud when it is these masses of young people that get out in numbers, mobilize themselves, support you, and put you in that position of honey and milk. Then you begin you forget them. You all you begin to do is to bring about your peers, your old peers, which is which was quite unfortunate. This time around, it is the same thing, except we have seen an improvement. We have seen a number of an improvement with regards to young people that have been appointed to positions of responsibility. I can give examples quickly. If you look at the Minister of Foreign Affairs, young, youth, brilliant. He has his own shortcomings, but I think over and above in terms of the acumen of leadership, he has what it takes. If you go to the Minister of Justice, he's equally brilliant. He's young. He may not be young in terms of just being in the bracket of the youth, but he's slightly above that, and he's still young, which for us is quite good. He has his own shortcomings and his own mistakes that he must work on, but I think over and above, he presents a good representation of the young people. and many others. However, a lot more needs to be done. We want to see that apart from just the head of state, going on international and national platforms to brag about the young people having given him that support and put him where he is, that must be translated into action of appreciating the young people and not any other young person. No, we are not saying appreciate young people for the sake of appreciating them. No, bring them closer and bring those that can help the system, bring those that can help take things forward as it were. So that is with regards to the constitution. And if you look at, unfortunately, again, at national level, go to the issue that really speaks directly to the youth, and this is the National Youth Development Council legislation, or act, if you like. And unfortunately, I think this one, the MMD failed, the Patriotic Front failed, and the UPND so far it has failed so far in the 1 year. And why I say so is that, look, the National Youth Development Council Act is an act that actually specifically deals with matters of the youth plight, or of the plight of the youth, their participation, their engagement, everything to do with youth is in that particular act. Unfortunately, that act is an archaic act. It's an obsolete act. It's an act of 1986. That's when it was last amended. Now, if I ask you a question, who was in power in 1986? It was UNIP, United Party for National United Independence, National Independence Party, UNIP. Now, UNIP was a one party. We were with UNIP when it was a one party participatory. We are in a multi-party dispensation now. Are the people not thinking about that? Now, you can, and this I will preach wherever I go. You can do anything good. You can give the youth all the empowerment that you want with regards to monies and everything, as long as they have their plight is anchored on this obsolete and archaic law, they will not move forward, because it is that law that is supposed to help them.
Mr. Nyirenda, you are so passionate about this, and we have seen even where we are standing today as regards, the contemplation of, the youth in terms of legislation, the political will, and so on and so forth. But by and large, the youths are not as many, just like you are saying, in the actually participation as regards, political positions and so on and so forth, even in government. Because it is said that youths are generally, irresponsible. They are not actually capable of, taking up these positions and handle them as expected. Now, as an organization, what do you do in terms of the preparation, to equip the youths and really to actually attest in their actions that, yes, indeed, they are capable, they are qualified, and they are ready to take up positions of leadership?
It's quite unfortunate that we have that narrative that youth are irresponsible, and it's youth and women are more or less put in one bracket. Once you have a youth, you have many youth, and one youth makes a mistake, then everyone will be bracketed together to say This is why the youth are not given, positions of responsibility. Now, if you go to the old men, us old men, okay, who are beyond the youth bracket, they are making mistakes every day. They actually, if you look at the corruption and all these issues, it is them that are involved in that. But you see, for them, they are clean because they have money to bribe, they have money to make people keep quiet, and so on and so forth, which is quite unfortunate. Now, they are old folks that are irresponsible, but they are old folks that are good and are great leaders for this country. They are young people who are irresponsible, but they are also young people who are very responsible. Okay, and look, and that's how society is. That's how nature is. You will always find one person or two who are not good of the groundnuts that you may have. That's the nature of life. Okay, but to brand young people irresponsible because one of them has made a mistake somewhere is quite unfortunate. It's quite unfair. If Comrade Chaza, you get to these households in our homes, just go there and see who is doing the great works. It is the young people. But you don't want to elevate them from a household to a community, and from a community to a national level engagement and politics. The moment you take them there, you want to brand them as the stone throwers. You don't want to give them the responsibilities to build, and because of that, they will take it that way, and that's the narrative that they will run with. For me, I will tell you that young people are not irresponsible. We have young people that are very responsible, and given an opportunity, they would really perform wonders for this country, better than some of the leaders that we've had in this country, who have actually taken us back in years, and in ancient times, because they think that leadership is about you being old, and not you being young. It's about just having the credentials of leadership, whether you are young or old. So that narrative is quite unfortunate. However, as Operation Young Vote, we do embark on a number of programs to sensitize and educate the young people on their civic rights, responsibilities, and obligations, because they must know, first of all, that as being citizens of the country, they have certain duties, responsibilities, and obligations that they need to perform. And unless they know and understand, that's how they can best, attend to those particular things. So as an organization, we are spread across the country, and our duty is to ensure that young people realize that they cannot, their plight will never be met as long as they are not, at the table of discussion, at the table of dialogue. They must be present at the table of dialogue. There is nothing for the young people without the young people themselves being at the center or at the table of engagement. So that is our niche as Operation Young Vote, and we ensure that by all means we educate the young people on what the law says about their responsibilities and obligations, how government is shaping the policies, and what they themselves want to see, so that as much as possible they have the ownership to these particular issues, and not something that is just dumped on them to say, this is the empowerment, run with it. And that's how we have seen that a lot of empowerment has failed, because you couch something, you come up with something without the young people being present, and you just come and dump it on them and think
Mr.
that
Nyirenda,
they'll run with it.
Mr.
All right,
Nyirenda,
Mr. Nyirenda, we do appreciate, and we also commend you for that job well done. You know, if indeed what you are saying is what you do as regards the youth, and we are yet to see even in great numbers that they will stand up and be counted, because they must be seen for them to also be identified that they do have the potential. At this point in time, I'll throw it to my colleague to take it up. To ask a couple of questions before we invite the viewers out there. Lance, I throw it to you.
Thank you so much, Chaza. And of course, it's a great topic that we are discussing this evening. And just an edge to our viewers, do not forget that we will be sharing the link very soon so that you can get to join us right here into the studio and be part of the program. Or better still, you can leave us a comment, ask your question, share a view, and take part in the discussion that we are having. A very important topic. Young people do not have the qualities for political leadership, is what we are discussing. And our guest this evening is Operation Young Vote Executive Director, guest Nyirenda. Now, Mr. Nyirenda, let me take you back to the formation of OYV. Obviously, this was to see to it that young people get to participate in political affairs or in leadership affairs, not only in political parties, but as well as in governance. Come 2021, last year, we did quite see a number of youths coming up to want and vie for different leadership roles, starting from councillorship all the way up to a member of parliament role, as well as presidential candidate. Obviously, here we're talking about Anford Maile Banda. What are the scores of this organization so far? Because if we compare 2021 general elections and 2016 general elections, there should be a difference that Operation Young Vote has made in the past, in the previous elections that we had in 2021. Let's talk about those scores as well as also moving forward. Let's get to look at the percentages of the young people participating in electoral processes.
Well, Comrade Lance, I thank you so much for that question. Allow me to begin by saying that yes, I know that our main concentration with regards to the engagement tonight is about young people offering themselves for leadership at various levels, whether it's at a councillor level or it's at, should I just generally say, local government level, parliamentary level, and presidential level. However, I also want to mention that it is very, very important for us to note as we, progress with this dialogue and conversation, that the participation of young people should not only be looked at that point. First of all, for us, the basics, the basic or the basis is for young people to first of all acquire their NRCs. Once they acquire their NRCs, they register as voters or to vote. Once they register to vote, then they cast their vote. Now, that is for us the most important, because if you cannot be able to vote for a leader or a good leader, for lack of a better term, then you cannot be, you are irresponsible, for lack of a better term again. So you must take the aspect of you registering as a voter as a very important responsibility, because it's about leadership, and that leadership that will be able to work with the rest of the members of the communities or the members of the public to be able to do bring about the plight of that particular community. So it takes want to be responsible, for them to accept to say, I am going to register as a voter. We have a lot of people, of course, young and old, that have refused to register to vote. But then they complain that things are expensive, things are not going well, and so on and so forth. While, yes, we appreciate that they have a right, it's not mandatory for one to register as a voter. But I think it's one's obligation, it's one's responsibility, because then it is at that point that we sit down together and say, this is a leader that can help this community go forward. And if you don't participate, then you are basically and simply saying, anyone can be a leader in my community and I don't care. And if you have that I don't care attitude, then you have a problem and you are not responsible. And this goes for either women, persons with disabilities, old folks, and the young people themselves. There's that level of a responsibility. So for us, the first point of call is for one to accept that they are going to get their NRC, they are going to register as a voter, and they are going to cast their vote. But also they are going to cast their vote to cast it wisely. And I will tell you proudly that the young people, Operation Young Vote has done wonders in that area to bring young people on board to be able to participate, and not only to be cadres chanting slogans and not go to vote. We have seen that in the previous elections and in the elections before that, a lot of young people have come out to go and cast their vote. It is the first point of call, and it is very important. Coming to the next tier, which is now where young people offer themselves for leadership. Of course, working with other institutions and organizations, we have done quite a lot as Operation Young Vote in ensuring that young people offered themselves for leadership. Now, I can give you examples of young people that have worked closely with Operation Young Vote, and today we are seeing them where they are. Number one, maybe I didn't even mention when I was talking about when we're establishing Operation Young Vote. One of the young persons then that we worked with so vehemently to ensure that Operation Young Vote was established and Operation Young Vote was doing what it was intended to do is the honorable member of parliament for Chiruvi today. Okay, in Chiruvi we have the PF parliamentarian Mulenga Fube. Myself and Mulenga Fube, we slept on the floor across the country to ensure that this organization was established. We are very proud as an organization to have him there. He was a member of Operation Young Vote for a very long time. Okay, and he still, appreciate what Operation Young Vote does. Another member of parliament for Feira, Emmanuel Tembo. Emmanuel Tembo was actually president of Operation Young Vote at some point. We are quite proud that he is there. Those are the gains, that we have made. We have young people in the likes of Cornelius Muitwa. We worked closely with Cornelius as an organization before he became member of parliament, but also even when he was member of parliament already. I think for us that is a plus. We have young people like Levin Goma today, who is assisting the presidency at political level. For us, those are gains, and these are young people that we can point to and say we have worked with these young people at the establishment of the organization, but also even as the organization was growing. Those are just a few, but many at level.
Yes. Let me get to bring you to this. Youths have, or let me just say, young people, they have vehemently failed to take up leadership positions or to offer themselves for these leadership positions. And good examples are those of some youths who at some point wanted to stand as either councillors or MPs, and then because their party did not choose them, instead of going independently, they chose to support whoever that the party they were supporting chose to stand in their behalf. Isn't that failure by a youth to present themselves for leadership? Because if they believed in themselves, they could have stood independently.
I appreciate your line of thought, Comrade Lance, but I want you also to understand the context in which I am bringing these issues out. I did explain to you that unfortunately our politics have been commercialized. Okay, and even just at the adoption level, we have these young people that are brilliant leaders. These political parties, they even know that if we had this young person in this position, our political party would run and grow. But unfortunately, even just at adoption, you will have to you will have to bribe a few people. You will have to have connections with this and that particular person, and that is not good any good for this country. It is the young people themselves. They have the interest, they have this enthusiasm, they have this edge and oomph to want to participate and engage. But unfortunately, the system is such that it is tokenism for the young persons. Okay, you will have to just play your role at that level of decoration, because the UN declaration says this, because the African Youth Charter says this, and you just want to parade the young people and just say, oh, we have young people participating. Well, in actual fact, these young people are just used for decoration. These young people are just brought in for tokenism and not for
Okay,
any
Mr. Nyirenda, so sorry to cut you short. So having identified, this major problem that is barring the youths from, active participation, vying for political positions and so on and so forth. What is the solution that can be offered to this problem?
Well, solutions are many, comrade Chaza. There are so many, and among them is, first of all, the few young persons or young people that have gone ahead of others in terms of being in leadership positions today. First of all, we expect them to perform, above average. We expect them to do the best they can, so that, like the other question was posed earlier, that a lot of young people given responsibility, they seem to be irresponsible because they seem to be careless and so on. But we expect them to perform above average, to give in their best, so that the system can begin to have confidence in the young people, to say that if the other young people came on board, then all these works of young people put together, they would actually move mountains. That is one first clear thing that we can do. But also, there's need to, unfortunately, our politics are so dirty, to the point that if a young person is in UPND, and because the UPND and the Patriotic Front are not seeing each other as competitors and as faces of different faces of the same coin. They are not seeing themselves as that. They are seeing themselves as enemies. Then the young person in UPND will not work with the young person in the Patriotic Front, or the young person in FDD will not work with the young person in the other political party, which is very unfortunate. If these young people, we know that there's a parliamentary caucus for the young people today, which is a very good move that was done by Parliament. We expect that that caucus will help the issues to do with youth participation, actually enhance them beyond what we have done as the as civil society, as NGOs, because them now they are an establishment of this very important arm of government, which is the legislature. They must find means and ways of ensuring that they harness the dividends that they themselves have taken there, but also ensure that they bring on board other young people. How they do it, there are so many ways. Engage, debate, discuss,
Mr. Nyirenda, Mr. Nyirenda, I'll again take you back to this core of the bedrock of hindrance, as regards youth participation. Political corruption. How can it really be fought? Because both the people or the electorate and also the political participants, seemingly there's that political corruption that is barring the youths from participation. How can this issue be tackled? Does such corruption, political corruption, get to be reported, investigated, and so on and so forth?
Unfortunately, it's not. It's in many instances, it's not reported. But I want to say that evil is evil, whether it is female or male in nature. It is evil. A wrong is a wrong. Corruption is corruption. Whether it is social corruption, it is financial corruption, it is political corruption, it still remains corruption. And unfortunately, that is what we have. That is a narrative we have given to ourselves. That is what we have indoctrinated ourselves with. People cannot go to talk to the electorate without taking food, without taking blankets, without taking something that they will bribe the electorate with. It's very unfortunate. People cannot vie for an adoption without preparing monies for each and every person who sits on the body that selects. That's unfortunate.
So, Mr. Nyirenda, that being the case, should we say even the youths are supposed to do what is wrong because what is wrong is so predominant?
No, and this is why I'm saying a wrong is a wrong, whether it is young in nature or old in nature, female, male, or whatever you want to connote it or describe it like. It still remains corruption, and corruption is an atrocity. It is a wrong thing that should not be accepted in society. Our society today is really bleeding in all angles and sectors because of corruption. We have made corruption as a way of life. It's a way of living. Even when something is just done and it's supposed to just be done like that, one has to think that they have an obligation to pay for getting their job done, for having their service given. It shouldn't be the case, and we must change the narrative. And the young people are the best ones to change the narrative, because for the old folks, unfortunately, they have just been too indoctrinated with this, and not everyone. I must also put this very clear, because if I begin to say the old folks, people will misquote me and say, oh, guess was saying, oh, old folks. No, I'm saying that there are old folks who are clean and good, but the majority of them have been soiled already, and for them to get out of this cocoon, it becomes very difficult, almost impossible. So it is the duty of the young people to refuse and reject corruption at all costs, and by all means.
Mr. Nyirenda, thank you so much. Let me get to take you back to the OIDC Act, which you talked about, which is chaired by the Minister of Youth Sports right there, who he himself is not a youth, but obviously chairing the youths. Which is something that is food for thought. But I want to take you in this way. Don't you think that there should be a deliberate policy that should be drafted or that should be put in our constitution to make sure that there is recognition for young people to take up leadership roles in political parties, in churches, civil societies, as well as in governance issues? Let it not be at the mercy of a political party, but it should be enshrined in a constitution so that whatever party that comes in, they know that each and every party that gets to be formed or what that comes, at least there is space for young people to take part into leadership roles.
Well, Comrade Banda, I really agree with you, except maybe to say that when you talk about legislation or laws, they are quite different from policies. Now, like I was sharing earlier on, I was talking about the National Youth Development Council Act. It's an act that should attend to and address the plight of the young people in this country. But then you have an act that is so archaic and it speaks to the life of UNIP or to the times of UNIP. When today we have gone years past that, period. So our laws must conform to what is happening today. To the era now is the era of social media. It's the era of it's the digital era, if you like. It's the era of migrating from analog to digital. But unfortunately, we still keep this law. And for me, the blame is not on the young people. It is on those that we have given the responsibility, because then they go there to now begin to attend to the plight of different and various stakeholders. And one of the key stakeholders in this country are the young people. The youth are the ones that today, wherever our head of state goes, he proudly says it is the youth, and without the youth, we would not have formed government. But as he says that for us, as he says that, he must at the back of his mind remember that there are laws that speak to the plight of these young people that helped him to get there. Why doesn't he quickly get to that and say, let us also help the young people? Yes, I understand that there's a lot that is happening in the background with regards to youth empowerment, with regards to youth and cooperatives, with regards to youth and employment, which is very good and very positive. But the bedrock is the law that speaks to the youth and their plight. And this is the National Youth Development Council Act. We cannot afford to have that act remain a 1986 act, while today we are in 2022. Very soon we'll be in 2023. I think we must pay attention to that. Then we'll realize that we are not only helping the youth who are educated. We are not only helping the youth that have formed companies. We are not only helping the youth who are in a certain grouping, but we are helping all the youth, because the youth are heterogeneous in nature. And because they are heterogeneous in nature, they are found in different categories, and will be able to help those different categories because the law says so. And the law that best speaks to the plight of the youth, there's no any other law in this country. It is the National Youth Development Council Act. Unfortunately, it is archaic, it is obsolete, and it does not even fit to be on our statute books. So we need
Now,
to change.
Mr. Nyirenda, just sorry to cut you, but just on the NYDC Act, it looks like for you, what is painful is that it's archaic. You are not looking at the chairmanship of this NYDC Act. It's being chaired by old people. So if another party comes through, suffice, yes, it's reformed to current 2022, we reform it, but we still do not we still do not dictate on who should be a chairman of that particular committee, or who should sit at the summit of that committee, and we leave it to say whoever is appointed as Minister of Sports is the one that is at the summit of that committee. Don't you think that we will continue having odd people chairmaning that particular committee, and therefore having absolute power to appoint whoever that they want in that committee, therefore appointing their fellow old people, for lack of a better term, and there will be nothing that would have changed?
Comrade, I appreciate your line of thinking, which is very, very correct. Except maybe to say that it's not the minister that is chairing the NYDC board. Currently, there's no board, unless I am mistaken. The last board was chaired by Comrade Xavier Chishimba, and I know, yes, and I agree with you that he's an old folk like myself.
But he is appointed. Let me. I want you to get
yes,
this idea.
He's appointed by the minister.
Minister.
I agree. I agree. He's appointed by the minister, and unfortunately or fortunately, that is how our acts of parliament, our legislation is couched. Not only in the line of the National Youth Development Council Act, but in all boards, in all ministries, the line minister to that particular board, or where that board falls, is the one that does the appointment of the boards. So the minister will still appoint the board, but the point that I want to really get from you is that, yes, we must have a composition of young people in these boards, of course appointed by the minister. We cannot run away from that fact of appointment. However, and let me also be categorical, it does not mean that when you want a matter to do with the plight of the youth to be done, then you need a youth to be a chairperson. Yes, the youth can be a chairperson, and also I want to correct the notion that they must be a chairman. They can be either a chair lady, but so they must be a chairperson for us to be accommodative. But whether one is order in terms of chairing, I think we are coming from a situation where our youth were relegated, our youth were left in the peripherals. Now, if one has no experience and expertise, you need some shepherd for them to shepherd them, then to leave them to take over. However, I am not saying that we don't have young people that can chair. We have a lot of young people in this country that can chair that board. But we also remember that we need these skills and knowledge transfer, and you need one or two in the surrounding of that particular board, to be somebody who's going to be able to give the knowledge, somebody who is going to give the expertise, somebody who is going to give the wisdom, and that may not necessarily be a young person. You can just have one or two, and the rest of them are young people, just so that you have these skills transfer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nyirenda, for being elaborative. This time around, let's open up the studio. So we have shared with you the studio link, which you can join us live into the studio be part of the program, ask your question one-on-one, or have a one-on-one interaction with Mr. Nyirenda right here, as we are talking about young people do not have qualities of political leadership. Come through, be part of the program, and share your view, share your sentiments, as well as let's also get to read messages that have come through as we're waiting for people to come right into the studio. Remember, the studio link has been shared on whichever platform that you are watching us. It may be Facebook, it may be YouTube, as well as Twitter. We have shared everywhere. Just simply click on it and you will be led to join the studio, and we'll be glad to have you and to also hear from you. Remember, this is Meet Your Leaders on Ubuntu channel. Let's get through the messages, director, and get to have our guests respond to the questions that have come through. Director, can we go through to the messages? Okay, let's try to do it manual. Let's try to do it manual. So I know you won't be able to see the messages, Mr. Nyirenda, but be rest assured that this is what has come through. Okay, they have come on the screen. So Soldier Boy rather, Enoch Tonga says Elias Chipimo bowed out of politics on account of an unfavorable environment for clean politics. How can young people compete or cope with the situation? Thank you so much, Enoch. And please, Mr. Nyirenda, take note of the questions as we will read a couple of them, and then you get a chance to react to them. Chibonta Jule says, imagine application to be party president set at 100,000 kwacha. Which youth are they targeting? It's clear that young people are being stopped from participating. Thank you so much, Chibonta, for that great concern. So, Sojabu comes back and says, but isn't money a big part of running a political party? Perhaps if youths prove resourcefulness in finance mobilization, then they will earn respect for political office. Leading a political party and ultimately the nation needs one to be properly established. Thank you so much, Enoch, for that contribution. And Mulungu Ruben Jerome says, have you, as OIV, engaged political parties to elevate the youths from them just being members of the youth wing to executive positions? All right. Thank you so much, Jerome, for that participation. Mr. Nyirenda, you can respond to the concerns, questions, and comments that we have read so far.
Well, thank you very much, comrades, for these very important questions, and I'll try and be so elaborative on each one of them. Let me begin with the last one. Has Operation Young Vote done anything to help the young people be elevated from just being in the political wings of political parties to getting to the main bodies or to be in the main executives? Indeed, that is one of our niches and one of our mandates as Operation Young Vote, to ensure to it that to see to it that as much as possible, young people are not just relegated to political party wings. We engage political parties both at youth level, but also at the main body level, so that as it were, these leaders in the main body appreciate the role of the youth and do not just relegate youth to that level, but also that the youth themselves, they begin to realize that they can do much more than just being mobilizers, stone throwers, and so on and so forth. So we do it at both levels, and we deal with many political parties, and we'll tell you that for example, when the the MMD lost power in 2011, you know, before they lost power, when they were in power, they really did. Sometimes when we advised like that, they would take it as if, no, we hate them, we don't like them, we side with the most strong opposition, and so on and so forth. And they never listened in many cases what we were, you know, bringing to the fore. But when they lost power, imagine they did invite us to their retreat to go and help them understand why and how they had lost the youth vote. And we went to tell them exactly what I am saying on this program, that you lost because you thought the important youth were just a few youth within your big pool of youth as a party. So you really neglected most of the youth. You just concentrated on a few that you would buy and send to go and speak good about you, and the rest of the youth, you neglected them. But more so, you did neglect the youth of the country. So that's how you know, we worked. We did try to help them when they were out of power, and this has continued. Okay, we spoke about it. We told the PF, I mean, they thought that they had their own powerful youth who they sent and would do propaganda here and there. But look at where they are now. You know, they today we are hearing that some of these youth are the ones that even went and told the were pushing the president not to accept results, which is quite unfortunate. They neglected most of the youth. Even their own youth were neglected. It is a similar trend happening today with our colleagues in the UPND. Okay, so if they continue with this trend, I mean, what has happened to the other political parties is bound to happen to them. They are not angels from heaven. So it's important that you know, they listen to divergent views when you know, we are engaging. The second, the second last question, which was the third question, is about I think is it Boo? Is Tonga Boo? I don't know. Is it
Soja Boo?
Soja Boo? Yes, Soja Boo did raise the issue of money being a necessity in people, young people participating. Now, the truth of the matter is that yes, money is a necessity wherever you go. You need to be, you know, sound resource-wise. But we are not saying you need to have the monies to corrupt people. And that is the thing that we are trying to demystify and talk against, because people have created a narrative that you need to be stinking rich, you need to have money to bribe everyone, and people go into corruption, people go into theft and stealing, people go into doing all these unacceptable tendencies for them to raise money so that they are able to have monies to bribe others. It's not that way. We must bring a narrative where we are saying a leader who is a good leader. We know these leaders from the communities, we know them from the churches, we know them from the ground, from the grassroots. Why can't we help them? If it means us raising resources for this particular leader, for us to propel them, you know, forward, how can we raise monies for them, unlike leaving it to themselves so that they can even obtain money dubiously, because that's what the narrative is. We must be able to support even the poorest of the leaders, as long as we know that these are they have integrity and they cannot, veer away from the principles of being steadfast and avoiding corruption. So while we appreciate that money is important, but it should not be the determining factor. It should not be the determinant that Mr. Nyirenda now is ready to be a leader because he has amassed wealth. No, I mean, you must be able to say, okay, Mr. Nyirenda can do this, and if we gave him this particular responsibility, he will be able to do it because you know me to have done it even at a lower level in my community or in my church. So that's that. Then the issue of 100,000 kwacha for nominations for presidency. Like I said earlier, look, our politics have been commercialized. You can why does the ECZ, for example, need this 100,000 kwacha? Because the age of one to be president is actually 35, still a youth. Where does a youth who is 35, for example, get the money from? If they are not from a family of tycoons or related to people who may have had wealth already. Here is the young people fresh from university, and they are brilliant and they can offer good leadership in the country. Why should we bar them because we are asking for 100,000 kwacha? Yes, we know that it is important. There must be some commitment, but again, it shouldn't be too much. Okay, especially looking at the young people. The first question was about politics being dirty, and Comrade Las Chipimo failed to stand it and left. I mean, he chose to go the direction that he felt he would actually be more impactful than the politics. And I think that is his democratic right, and he had a choice to do what he did. However, the point that I want to raise is that all of us that have chosen to do what we are doing. For example, we are in civil society and dealing with matters of advocacy and governance. If, for example, we see that yes, it's hard and it has been hard, but we have been resilient. We have been, so strong. We have ensured that our skins are thick now. Okay, the idea is that we want to change, things for the better. And if good people keep quiet and decide not to engage in politics and clean these politics, we will continue to have dirty people in politics, and we will continue to even call politics being dirty when politics are not dirty. Politics are actually godly. Politics are actually a service to mankind. But because we have let dirty people to manage and administer politics, we have now even called the politics to be a dirty game. It's not a dirty game, it's a clean game, a godly game, a game of service to the people. But then the clean people must come on board and ensure that they clean this game.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nyirenda. Let's get to see if we can get to accommodate at least one or two more messages, as time is not our best ally. We're supposed to be saying our bye-byes, but all right. So Lawrence says, I hate the fact that even youth positions, I'm sure he means in political parties, are held by those old folks, even saying that we are the youths. Granny. Okay. This is really epic. All right. Then Jerome says, I agree. Our political youth wings are just a security committee. Okay. Thank you so much, Jerome, for that. And we really appreciate. I said two, so we'll stick with two. At least today they won't be okay. I wanted to be truthful today, but it appears that the devil has continued. That was on a lighter note anyway. Mwenda says we need good role models of young people in politics. Well, Mwenda, I agree with you, and I have a serious question for Mr. Nyirenda, but time is not our best ally. Mr. Nyirenda, you can get to attend to you can get to attend to the messages that have come through, and then on the other side, we'll be winding up.
Well, thank you so much, comrade. Indeed, it is inevitable, and we cannot avoid to ensure that young people are brought on board. Young people must just come on board. That we cannot continue to procrastinate or to gloss over. We just need young people on board. Where we are saying, look, political party youth wings, security wings, and I think the comrade there agreed with me, and that is what is happening. They are either a security wing or they are a wing that is going to beat the opponents when there are problems. They are the ones that are going to be sent to be marshals and to just to do all these funny muscle things and violent things. Unfortunately, we want to see young people calling the shots. We want to see young people as SGs, okay, secretary generals of political parties. We want to see young people as spokespersons of political parties. We want to see young people at that very critical level, and that for us is what is going to change the dynamics of the way we are looking at politics. And finally, the last comrade, what did the last comrade say?
Which I think you are talking about Mulungu. I think that was the first one where he says he hates the fact that elderly people or older people are the ones who are holding at Ndine youth chairperson or youth chairman. But in Shininkote, they're even saying we are the youths.
We must move away from that notion. It is true. We must move away. It's important. And also, we must have young people have courage. We have the young people that have the qualities to be in these positions, but I think they need capacity to have courage so that they know that they have what it takes for them to be in those positions and not leave those positions to ourselves who are beyond the age bracket to be classified as youth. So we need young people to come and take over from us as the Operation Young Vote executive director, but they must have courage. Yes, they have what it takes, but they must have courage, and they must also be ready to sacrifice, because these positions sometimes are about sacrifice. Okay, so you must be ready to have the courage, but also to sacrifice, and that's all it takes. You don't need the resources per se for you to be in some of these positions. I think the young people must also take the bull by its horns. We mustn't just complain in the background. We must take the bull by its horns and ensure that we take these positions and not let us, the old folks and old men, to be chairpersons in your
And I
political
know
party.
time is not our best ally, but I'll still bring in this. Sorry, Chaza. I'll still bring in this. Mr. Nyirenda, youths are courageous and they are offering themselves to come and take these positions. But because you are claiming that alibe experience, munga mwete nstakambira pali nkhani ya committee ya ku OIDC Act kuti yayi funka kwankhala na nkhalamba so that ita offer wisdom. That's why vana vang'ono muvadyakirira kai funka kunkhale nkhalamba yopasa wisdom.
So, sorry, comrade, come again. I think I was getting offline. Sorry, my network was getting bad. Just come.
Okay, I think network it has really done him bad because he has even frozen. Okay, so I was saying, we have young people that are courageous, that they want to, take over from the guest Nyirendas of these days. They want to take over from these old folks. But kaimunga momwe mwalankhulira kuti iyayi nkhalamba zifunika zilipo kuchita offer guidance nopasa wisdom. That's why mwadyakirira vana kuti siyanti nkhalepo pakati kupunziseni ndipe mzapo nkhalapo imo.
No, to orient or to teach these young people, you don't necessarily need to be in the limelight. You can be in the background and orient them. But I think what is key, and my message as I end, is that young people must be courageous enough. Young people must be bold enough to take the bull by its horns, and then they will be given these opportunities and chances for them to really apply the qualities that they have. And I want to tell you that young people already have the quality. All they need is the courage to be able to take these positions.
All right, Mr. Nyirenda, you've been so good. We are delighted to have you because you are a man with vast experience and exposure as regards the topic of the day that we had. Young people do not have qualities for political leadership. You have actually been so elaborate. Executive Director, Operation Young Vote, we are so grateful, and we shall continue knocking on your door even for more topics to be tackled on this platform, Ubuntu channel.
Thank you so much. I am very pleased and humbled, and I am obliged 24/7. I'm still in my office right now working. So 24/7 I'll be there and available to engage with you, comrades, and any other Zambian or any other person that may want my services.
Thank you so much, and not forgetting the viewers out there, the listeners. We are so grateful to actually, be with you on the program, Meet Your Leaders. It comes your way every Wednesday at 9 p.m. right here on our Ubuntu channel, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and so on and so forth in terms of social media platforms. And my co-host, Lance, as usual, it's been great, doing this program with you. To the people out there listening, viewing, do join us next week. For now, we are saying God bless you all, and we are out of here.